You're just pouring your morning coffee or turning a doorknob when your perception suddenly stutters. A strange, heavy sensation washes over you, an absolute certainty that you have lived this exact moment before. That feeling is déjà vu, a French phrase meaning already seen. Roughly 2/3 of us will experience it at some point in our lives. What we commonly call déjà vu actually breaks down into specific variations. There's déjà vécu, the sensation that you have already experienced a specific sequence of events. And there's the rarer déjà visite, the eerie ability to navigate the streets of a city you are visiting for the very first time. For centuries, these unexplainable flashes of familiarity suggested supernatural forces, like past lives or premonitions. Even Carl Jung explored cases of déjà visite through the lens of synchronicity, attempting to find psychological or esoteric meaning in these glitches. The problem for modern scientists trying to study the phenomenon is that déjà vu is completely spontaneous. It evaporates in seconds. You can't just put someone in an fMRI machine and ask them to have an episode on command. Despite how elusive it is, modern neuroscience has managed to corner the phenomenon. We've moved past the supernatural and narrowed the cause down to a few specific mechanical errors in how the brain processes reality. Researchers have proposed over 40 different theories to explain déjà vu, but the scientific community generally points to 4 leading suspects. The attentional theory focuses on distraction. A subliminal glance is absorbed, and when attention returns milliseconds later, it's processed as an older event. Cleary's memory theory suggests a current situation shares abstract geometry with a forgotten memory. This visual match triggers false familiarity. A third possibility is the dual processing theory. This proposes that 2 cognitive processes that normally run in perfect sync, like the feeling of familiarity and the retrieval of actual information, experience a momentary lag, falling out of step with each other. Finally, there's the neurological theory. Sensory information travels to your brain's higher-order processing centers through multiple pathways. Sometimes a micro-delay occurs as data crosses between the left and right hemispheres. Looking at this schematic, you can see the result of that delay. The dominant hemisphere receives the same sensory data twice, just milliseconds apart. The brain processes that lagging second signal as an independent event, applying a false past timestamp to a present experience. These triggers come from different directions. Some start with a distracted eye, others with spatial similarities, but all converge on the same neurological dead end. Whether the cause is a timing lag or a forgotten layout, each mechanism prematurely engages the brain's familiarity sensing hardware before the context of the situation can be fully analyzed. That hardware sits in your temporal lobe. Specifically, structures like the rhinal cortex and the hippocampus act as the brain's dedicated familiarity system. Under normal circumstances, this system stays quiet until you encounter a person or a place you actually recognize from your past. But during an episode of déjà vu, a glitch forces this network to fire. It floods you with an intense feeling of familiarity, even though you have no actual memory to back it up. Scientists isolated this by studying temporal lobe epilepsy. Because this condition involves the memory regions, it acts as a magnifying glass for these neural misfires. In these patients, hypersynchronous electrical discharges create intense storms in the temporal lobe. Right before a focal seizure begins, that uncontrolled electrical surge triggers the familiarity system, forcing the patient to experience an overwhelming wave of déjà vu. When neurologists map these intense electrical storms, they see the exact same parahippocampal structures lighting up that fire during a healthy brain's glitch. Harmless, everyday déjà vu is a matter of scale, a single, isolated spark in the same circuit that, in epilepsy, is consumed by a full-blown storm of neural synchronization. Which brings up a central paradox. If your temporal lobe is ringing the familiarity alarm so loudly, why do you know the feeling is fake? The answer lies in your frontal cortex. This region acts as the brain's ultimate fact-checker. This cross-section shows conflict monitoring. Dr. O'Connor's research suggests that when the temporal lobe sends out a familiarity pulse, the frontal cortex launches an investigation. The temporal lobe insists the moment is old, but the frontal cortex finds no evidence, rejecting the claim. We experience déjà vu as the conscious awareness of this internal conflict. It is the feeling of your brain noticing a contradiction between its own familiarity signals and the reality on the ground. This real-time investigation reveals that the brain's error-checking system is active. Your frontal cortex successfully identifies the familiarity signal as a mistake, preventing the false alarm from being filed as a legitimate memory. While normal for most, frequent déjà vu accompanied by symptoms like fainting, confusion, or involuntary repetitive movements warrants a medical evaluation to rule out focal seizures. Have you ever caught your own brain in a lie? Share your most unexplainable déjà vu or déjà visite stories in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe for more deep dives into the brain.